So, Ralph, I know you've got a really long resume of different things you've done in music. So let's start, though, with what you're currently doing now, if you don't mind sharing that with us. Your latest and greatest?
Recently, for the past 9 years or so, I've been doing a lot of music, TV music for animation, and I've done, I don't know, I have a whole bunch of, I lose track after a while, but I've done, I think, 14 different cartoon shows, TV shows on either Fox or Warner Brothers, or CW it is now, and I've been doing the scoring for a bunch of them. It's hard work, but it's really fun, and it's very creative. Actually, John Siegler works on the show too, and so I speak to him almost every day. He's the music supervisor for most of the shows that I work on. So we collaborate a lot. It's cool. It's all different kinds of wild, wacky music, and when the shows go on the air, the sound effects kind of drowns out all the music anyway. But it's really fun to do, and I've gotten a chance to write all kinds of different music, which is really
Was the
fun.
first project y'all did together the Pokemon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been doing that for a while. Did you just do a soundtrack, or have you done several things with them?
I've done, the company that did Pokemon, let's see, I've done 3 movie soundtracks for them, for the first 3 Pokemon movies. And then I've done, like I said, about 14 or 15 TV shows. And some of them are still on the air, and some of, I can't keep track of all of them, but they're all on the air somewhere in the world,
Yeah. Can you give us a couple of them?
Sorry?
Can you give us a couple of them?
The names of them?
Yeah.
The 2 latest ones, there's like the 2 new ones I did last year, 3 of them actually. One was called, they're usually on Saturday mornings. One was called Chaotic, and one was called Dinosaur King, and the third one was called Viva Pinata. It's for little kids. And I'm working on one now it's actually, most of these shows are shows that have run in other countries successfully, and this company buys them up and puts English actors to the lip movement. And they write a whole new story that has to go with the way the characters are moving their lips. So I imagine it's not easy. And then they put new music to it. So I write a lot of the new music, and John Siegler is in charge of supervising all of it. And so the one I'm working on now, I don't know if it's on the air yet. It's called Go-Go Riki, and it's also for little kids, and it's a cute show. It was made in Russia, and supposedly is a prime time favorite over there for kids and adults. But so that's the one I'm working on at the moment. But the other most recent ones are the ones I mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Ralph.
And sorry.
I just wanted to ask a question. When someone writes music for a live-action film, sometimes they get to see the dailies, and then they can put the music to that. Do you get to see some kind of a form of dailies with the animation, or how does that work?
I see I usually see a rough edit. A lot of times, and I've worked on live action movies too. Not as many though, but with these shows, I see a rough edit usually that has most of the dialogue is, when I first get it, most of the dialogue is done by the writers who try and do all the voices for our purposes and to present to the rest of the company and stuff. So, I mean, some of these guys are pretty talented. They write the story and then they do all the voices. And the voices are eventually redone by professional actors, and so I usually see a rough edit, which is usually pretty much like the final version, except the voices that I hear are usually temporary voices. Or a lot of times, like I've done a couple of the shows, most of the shows actually from Japan. So I'll hear, when I first get them, I'll hear the Japanese voices, and I won't know what the hell the story is about. And then maybe 2 or 3 days later, I'll get a version with, English, an English script, and then I'll know kind of what it's about. And a lot of times, usually the stories in the United States don't follow the original stories really much at all. They're probably totally different. And they crank these things out really fast. They write, I think, a script a week.
Wow.
For a half-hour show, and they have to follow the lips. So if you can't get your point across in the story with these cartoon lips moving, then you don't do your job. So I imagine I imagine you have to be a pretty good writer to, at least technically, to accomplish that.
Sure. Now, this is your full-time gig now, right?
Well, it's not a full-time gig. I'm freelance, but when TV season is happening, it's usually full-time. We usually don't work much during the summers, and I work on a lot of other stuff too. I still write songs, and I still produce records, and I still do a lot of commercials, music for a lot of commercials, and stuff like that. And occasionally I'll get a live-action movie or TV show but that's not my kind of regular bread and butter.
All right. So do people at the office know that you and John used to be rock and roll stars?
Yeah. Yeah, they found out by now, I think. They're all pretty surprised.
Yeah, so it's quite a different take from what you were doing back then.
Although the music, some of the music, you can definitely hear, it doesn't sound like Utopia music, but it's as kind of dense and complicated and melodic, and has a lot of different changes and key changes and tempo changes, and lots of really dramatic music.
So we won't hear the icon on Pokemon anytime soon, huh?
There's nothing exactly resembling the icon, but there's some stuff that's conceptually similar. Let's put it this way: I wouldn't be able to do this if I hadn't, or I wouldn't have been able to fall into it as easily if I hadn't had that experience with Todd.
Sure, absolutely. All right, let's try that call again. Let's see if somebody might know. 330, you with us?
Hello there.
Hey.
Hey, Jeff Manuel, Youngstown, Ohio. How are you, sir?
Doing all right.
Ralph, Blast from the Past.
Yes.
Played with Billy Cobham.
Oh, you did?
No, you did.
You did or I did?
No, I'm saying you did.
Oh, yeah, the gigs. I didn't play with his band, but I played, my wife's band was on the same bill as, who was it, Jack Bruce, and Billy Cobham was playing drums with Jack Bruce. Are you talking about that?
Awesome. No, I'll just go back to, I'm going to go see all the other listeners out there, going to go see Todd for the 42nd time in Pittsburgh at the Rex Theater. I blasted the past with Todd, seeing Todd one of the first times the Raw Tour in Akron, Ohio. Going back to, in fact, at the Agora Theater in Youngstown, Ohio. Meeting Chasm on the street where Chasm had a pair of red shoes that he needed duct tape with. Wanted to know where a shoe store was at. Took him to a shoe store, but Todd's been just great, and it's my only comment to the listeners is Todd's always been there, and it's still I get to this day since I've known Todd and listened to Todd is like you get from the casual listener, Top 40 Radio, what does he sing? What is his songs? And it's like they know hello, it's me, and nothing else since then. And it's like still I'm telling friends, okay, I'm going to go see Todd Rundgren. Okay, what does he sing? And it's like what I uniquely, and I compliment to you too in the band, is that I don't know if I've seen over 550 national acts, Todd, 40 times, that how Todd is so unique is that every album is so different.
Yeah.
And your comment on that as far as the style, bands, people want to see the bands, they want to hear the hits. And Todd, to Todd fans, he has his hits, but he's not top 40, never been top 40, if you will.
Right.
But he just gives you that unique style every time out that is so cool and so it's awesome. He's top of my list as far as giving you that unique style.
Mm-hmm.
Todd is... Huh? Yeah, go ahead. So I guess he's talking about the unique style. You guys, of course, just the album that you did, of course you did two, but the first one, the Todd Rundgren's Utopia, is still a very unique album in the fact that there's only 4 songs on it and they're very long.
That's the one with the icon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really interesting, fun, educational, great time. It was always challenging, and Todd is amazing. I always say that a lot of times I'll get sick of the music that I know, or I'll listen to a whole bunch of things, or I'll listen to the radio, or I'll go through a lot of my CDs and a jazz collection and classical collection and R&B and pop music and rock and roll and everything. And I just don't feel like listening to it. I'm always like I'm bored. And when I'm in that state of mind, I always put a Todd song on.
There you go.
Because it's always fresh, and it's always they never sound dated, they never sound predictable, and the music is good, and the lyrics are great, and his singing is great, and the music still entertains me to this day. And actually, a real funny thing happened. I guess this was last year. I was listening to the radio. There's a station out here called Indie 103, I think it is, and they mostly play indie music. Different bands that haven't been signed to major labels. And so I was listening to it one day, and I hear this voice with this Philadelphia accent, and it sounded really familiar to me, but I couldn't tell who it was. And the guy was, and it was on the DJ on the show was this guy Jonesy, who was the guitar player for the Sex Pistols, and he's got his own show on this station in L.A. And he's a really cool guy, and he's real funny, and he's got this kind of Cockney accent, and he's very clever, and he has a lot of famous people as guests. Anyway, I hear his voice, and then I hear this Philadelphia guy. I know a Philadelphia accent because I spent a lot of time there. And I'm thinking, who the heck is this? And then after a while, I realized that it's Todd, only his voice has gone down like 2 octaves or something.
Yeah, at least.
He sounds a whole lot more relaxed than when I first, when I knew him. Mm-hmm. And I said, wow, that's Todd. God, I wonder why he's on the radio. And then coincidentally, a friend of mine called me right then and said, hey, Ralph, I got an extra ticket to go see Todd with the Cars. And I didn't know anything about Todd with the Cars, or I didn't know he was singing with the new Cars, and I hadn't been following his career much or the Cars. And that night they had a concert, and my friend took me, and it was just great, and he was fabulous, and he was having such a good time and playing and singing so well, and the band was so good, and it was really nice to see him. He seemed like he was having a whole lot more fun than he used to on our gigs, because he didn't have anything to prove. He was just rocking. And he did some of his songs too. And
those are some really fun shows. Unfortunately, it was short-lived, mainly because Elliot broke his collarbone.
Really?
The tour got started, so it just threw everything off. And
really? Wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. Now he's out doing things on his own. But we appreciate your call. Thanks for calling in. But and we kind of jumped ahead of ourselves. So I want to go back to some of the cartoons and some of the other things you're doing now. But since we're down this road, tell me a little bit about how you and John, were y'all friends when you met Todd and got in Utopia, or what's the history behind that?
Yeah, well, actually, John and Moogie and Kevin and I were all friends. In fact, John and I were roommates. When I moved to New York, I think it was in 1972. Long story short, I met John through Moogie, and basically I knew some people that they grew up with, and the town they grew up in, Great Neck, New York, was a breeding ground for a lot of great musicians and many record company presidents, and a lot of great players and singers and songwriters and stuff, because mainly their parents could afford to buy them lots of equipment and give them lessons. So a lot of good musicians came out of there, and so everyone I knew when I moved to New York, everyone I knew was from Great Neck, and that's how I met John. And I met Moogie, I believe, when I was on the road with another band, maybe with Clear Light or something. I don't remember where, but yeah, so we were friends. And Kevin, I had just jammed with up at his apartment. I can't remember the way I met him, but we all kind of ran in the same circles. And we had played, most of us had played records. Mm-hmm. And, I may be having some problems with my phone.
Uh-oh.
So, and I remember when we did the Todd album, and then Todd went on the road and he had a different band, and Moogie would always say, like, how come he doesn't use us in his band? We're better than those guys. And the only reason we could figure it out was that, there was a bit of an image, we weren't we were kind of nerdy Jewish guys, none of us were into like dressing cool or
no green hair.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And so, I just figured, well, we don't have the look for that like those guys do. And so eventually, he decided to put us into his band and make the first Utopia record.
Right.
And he was very idealistic about it, and he wanted it to be as close to an equal democratic band as possible, though he would have the final say.
Mm-hmm.
And he hired everybody basically to be themselves, and he gave us all a chance to write, to co-write and to play however we felt like playing. And occasionally he would give us some, just about every piece of music that one of us would bring in. Mm-hmm. Todd would say it was too normal, and he'd think up some ways to make it kind of messed up, in a good way,
Yeah.
So he would try and just change it around a little bit, put in weird time signatures and weird drum beats and or just kind of different arrangements that maybe one of us wouldn't have thought of, and so that it would sound more unique and more like Utopia.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how that came about. And also John and Moogie and Moogie had a band called Moogie and the Rhythm Kings, which you probably know, mm-hmm. Which I was in. And when I first moved to New York, I joined that band.
Mm-hmm. So you have been friends with Moogie for a long time.
Yeah, since he was a kid almost.
So when's the last time you talked to him?
I haven't talked to him in probably about 3-4 years.
Well, Moogie's on the phone with us right now, so he wants to say hello.
Who's that?
Yo,
Moogie, what's up?
Hey, man.
Ralph Schuckett, this is your old friend Moogie. I'm in the retirement home, the rock and roll retirement home. With the ultimate rock and rollers. Down in Florida, Miami. Ralph, you got to come down and join us.
You haven't changed a bit.
Yeah, I feel young, but where we get old, that's rock and rollers. We go to the rock and roll retirement homes and we play the blues, eh?
You got it.
Ralph,
I'm too young for that.
Ralph Schuckett.
Yes. Mark Klingman.
His wife. Oh, no, it's Mookie. No, they don't know Mark. They know Mookie.
Okay.
My friend, have you been on the radio a long time, or just a few minutes? How are you doing?
Hello?
Oh, his phone's messing up. He's only been on about 15 minutes, maybe.
You know, my phone sometimes cuts out. I don't know what I've had the phone company here 4 times already, and they said.
Wow.
So I may disappear. You may have to call me back.
Okay. All right, Moogie, you're clear, and Ralph, you're clear now, I believe.
Hey.
Well, this is the Utopia reunion and Rhythm King.
Yeah, how's fatherhood?
Fatherhood is great. My son is great. I'm having a ball with him. He's 7 years old now. I got a young wife, and my son's even younger than my wife. So I feel young, you know.
You are young. You know, you're probably just like me, emotionally immature. So
no,
you'll always be young.
Kids straighten you out. They make you mature, right? They make you daddies.
Yeah.
You can't mess around when you got kids, right? You got to grow up and let them be kids.
Well, you do have when you're around them anyway. But it's I'm talking about being like a kid, a good thing, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Young at heart.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've come together around a couple of deaths, right? The drummer from our band, two of our drummers have died, and I guess that brought us together temporarily in recent years,
true.
right?
Yes, this is true. And I see your I go to your website from time to time.
So how you get my emails?
I
guess not, huh?
I don't get your emails. I mean, you and I have corresponded by email a few times, but I haven't gotten any.
I put you on my email list. I'm still playing in the city here. I still have I'm working in the Rhythm King start band, and we're playing.
Yeah, I know.
How about, are you playing out at all? You're still doing the movie stores and the other thing?
I haven't played. I really don't play live much, although I'd like to try. But I have to practice a lot first because I'm, I rely on computers a lot, so I get kind of lazy. But I've been playing. Well, first I've been playing. There's this club in South Central LA. It's like a soul food restaurant, and they have these Monday night blues jams. And a friend of mine from childhood invited me down there one night, and it was really fun. So I do that occasionally. And then I'm in. Do you know who Katie Segal is?
Sure.
She was the mom in Married with Children, and also she's the one-eyed girl in Futurama. You ever see that? It's on. I think it's on Cartoon Network, but it's a really funny show. Anyway, and she's also the female star of Sons of Anarchy on. I think it's on Showtime. It just came out a few weeks ago. Anyway, she's an amazing singer and songwriter, and occasionally, because of her popularity as an actress, she gets these gigs at different, places. And so I joined her band about 6 months ago, so I've done a couple of gigs with her. It was really fun. But other than that, no.
But we got to give a shout out to our late drummers, Joel Bishop O'Brien, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was in the Glitter House, and then he was in also your band, So Mama.
Yeah.
Great band.
He was greatly missed by me. Really, really, I got to see him before he died, but I just really missed the guy. He was a great teacher to me, and interesting, funny, wonderful guy, great musician.
Now, Ralph, have you ever been to any of these Nastopia and different Utopia things that Moogie does over there in New York?
No, I haven't been. If I was in New York, I'd go, but I haven't been to New York probably in about 7 years. So, I haven't been able to. But Moog, if I was living in New York, I'd definitely come down and clap loudly.
We'll see you on the stage.
It is, right? Play some keys. I just got an album that you're on, the new Joel Zoss album. It says you're in the credits there. You play keyboards on it?
Oh, yeah. You got a copy of that?
Yeah, well, online, at Napster. I downloaded it. It's really good.
Yeah.
nice playing. How you did
Thank
that
you.
Coast to Coast? He sent you emails of the tracks, and he did them, and then, or you went to Martha's Vineyard, or?
Yeah, he did it in. They did it in a strange way. They did these tracks and some really beautiful songs. And then they sent me the tapes, or not the tapes, but the digital audio file. And then they sent another audio file to another guy, the same audio file, to another guy who plays guitar and fiddle and mandolin and all kinds of stringed instruments. But he and I never kind of played together. So we both kind of played a lot of stuff. We both did for every song we did 10 tracks. And then Joel and the producer, June Millington, weeded through them and chose their favorite parts of each track. So it all came out totally unexpectedly. Nothing like what I heard originally, which isn't bad. I mean, it came out really good. But interesting way to work where you're playing with somebody who neither of you hear each other. But he's got some really great songs on there. And,
It's a really nice record. It's hard to believe it was 35 years between albums for Joel.
Yeah, he's written some very unique songs and just very great melodies and interesting chord changes and.
Great. He's opening for B.B. King. He's touring opening for B.B. King now.
Really? Good for him.
He's the opening act for B.B. King.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, he deserves it.
It happened 35 years ago, but at least it's happening now, right?
Hey, it's never too late,
The first two Moogie albums with you on the keyboards just came out in Japan. They re-released them as a package deal.
Oh, really? Good for you. Yeah, good. Congratulations. You sent me copies of them, not the Japanese release, but I think when we spoke, you sent me copies of all your recent stuff.
Yeah, maybe
and the old stuff.
I'll shoot you over the Japanese releases. It's nice. They got 3 of my earliest albums, my Glitter House album, my first band with Joel.
Wow.
Moogie 1 and Moogie 2. So they're trying to create Moogie Mania over there in Japan. With all the
Moogie
For the listening audience, just to give credit where credit is due, Moogie is responsible for so many musical innovations and couplings and getting different really interesting people together who later on became very successful. And his loft where Secret Sound was, Todd and Moogie's studio. Moogie used to have these sessions there pretty much every night when they didn't have any business, and all these great people would come and we would jam until 4 in the morning, and Moogie would record it all. And then later on, when he moved, he did the same kind of thing in another place. And a lot of just great people came out of there and went on to have fruitful careers, and it was really a great breeding ground for musical creativity. And thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, doing it. I got this weekly thing going on in Manhattan. Just check my website. I'm at this club, and we got.
Yeah, I saw your website a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we got a kind of a jam going weekly now downtown. So history repeats itself. I'm still back at it. I'm still in Manhattan. They forced everyone else out of Manhattan, but I'm still here.
Are you still at the Apthorpe?
I'm still at the Apthorpe. Yeah, they turned it into a condo, but they can't get the old tenants out. They just assessed my apartment for sale at $6.5 million. So they're gonna have me a lot of money.
You got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I got the rent laws on my side, and besides, the whole market just crashed. So I don't know if we need more condos in Manhattan for a while.
I had a meeting with my wife, and I had a meeting with our broker guy today, and just to find out how much money we've lost, but that's another story. That's what happens when there are no regulations for greedy businessmen.
Yep.
It was inevitable, and now the way, hopefully, this is what everyone's saying, and I hope it's true, that business will never be done in the same way again after all this. And
who knows what happened?
And hopefully, all people are going to vote for Obama, who I think is a wonderful guy and very qualified, Obama and Biden. And, they're still politicians, but they're not unbelievably heinous liars. So,
what do you think about that, Moogie? You into politics?
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah.
more into it than I am.
Yeah.
I'm into politics. Yeah. That's my life, baby. I'm down with it.
You're down with it. That's why you're not watching it today. Hey, we're
No,
going on Facebook show.
I got to tell you, Doug, you're killing me with that. I was looking forward to it.
Well, you got Moogie talk to. You got another person that knows y'all that wants to say hello too.
Okay.
And then we'll get back to normal eventually on this show. All
Okay,
right,
I'll let you stop.
Nice
hang
to
on,
talk
Moogie.
to you, Moog.
Moogie, hang tight, buddy.
Oh,
He knows you too.
I wonder who it is.
Moogie, you with us?
Yes.
All right, 727.
Hey, Moogie.
Yeah.
You remember me?
Who
do you know in Florida?
In Florida, TZ.
Yeah, that's me.
TZ.
Wow, TZ, man, he's doing the Conquering of the West. He just sent me the YouTube of it. And listen, for Ralph.
Yes.
I got a couple of videos on YouTube of my band that are getting a lot of hits. So if you just go to YouTube and write in Moogie Music is one word, MOOGYMUSIC, you can see videos we shot that came up pretty nice. They're getting a lot of hits on YouTube.
Cool.
I just saw TZ's YouTube of the Conquering of the West from the Icon, and it's great. TZ and I were playing together for a couple of years. A couple of years ago, we did a bunch of gigs together. And you know TZ, Ralph?
Ralph might remember me from 25 years ago. I was the keyboard player in the Clarence Clements and the Red Bank Rockers, and I was at a few rehearsals that Ralph was producing. And I ended up leaving the band, but I met Ralph, and I was bending his ear about his time with Todd in Utopia, as I was bending your ear, Moogie, when I was playing with you.
I'm going to have to go. I just want to say that TZ is a monster keyboard player. Check him out on YouTube. I don't know, you'll give the address. And Ralph, it's great to talk to you. I'll email you. And remember, in the hearts and minds of all, there is an icon, and us utopians somewhere in the sky are floating around in that icon.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
And remember one thing.
Hold on. See if you had something else. I thought he was going. Hold on, Moogie. All right, Moogie, you're back. Did you have something else?
Yeah, one quick comment on the presidential race and on the debates that are happening tonight. That when these presidential candidates debate in front of millions and millions of people, they are debating in front of a mass of people. They are mass debaters. Now, I think Obama's a pretty good mass debater, but McCain, he's a real mass debater. You know? In fact, whenever Sarah Palin opens her mouth, she's mass debate in these things.
Moogie's off the chain. All right,
there
Moogie.
are ladies present.
I'll see you guys later.
All right, talk to you, Moogie. See you later. I don't know if that's his phone or yours, Ralph. He seemed to be having some issues there.
Yeah, mine cuts out every now and then, and also it makes like a really loud knocking noise. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
If I disappear, call me back.
Okay, absolutely. TZ, do you have any questions for Ralph while you're on with us?
I just wanted to say hi to Ralph. It was really kind of a trip for me. Ralph, if he remembers me, will know that I was, big into Utopia. I played with Kaz. I played with Willie's brother Jimmy when I was in the Blue Oyster Cult. He was the drummer. And then Moogie and I had a band for about a year, and where I got to play all of Ralph's parts, the organ parts, and Roger's synth parts. So that was a lot of fun. But I just wanted to say hi.
You played them a lot better than I did.
I'm playing pretty good these days. I got out of the big time music business for 15 years. I did weddings and bar mitzvahs, made consistent money, and then I had a son, and my son's 17. But now I'm getting called back out. I'm back with the Blue Oyster Cult for a couple gigs. I'm playing with Ike Willis from the Mothers of Invention, and I have a song. I worked with John Anderson from Yes. He did a song on my album. And this is all in the past 2 years. I don't know why all of a sudden the phone started ringing, but enough about me. I just wanted to, say hi to you. I don't know if you remember me. I was at a few of the rehearsals.
I remember
at
your name. I'm trying to place your face because then there was another guy who took your place, I guess. A couple other guys. Well,
yeah, I ended up leaving, and no hard feelings at all.
Yeah.
Musically, it's just things happen, and guys leave bands and move on. But anyway, I just wanted to say hi. Yeah, I'm still a long-time Utopian fan, and never got to play with Todd, but I played with almost everybody else that he's played with in Utopia.
All right, TV, man.
Anyway,
thanks. Yeah, thanks.
I know he wants to talk some about the Clarence Clemens. Because we didn't know that he informed us that you had, were involved with his first album. We'll get into that in a minute. We got another call I want to take right quick too.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting all over the place. 513, you're with us.
Hey, Doug, this is Chuck from Cincinnati.
Hey, Chuck, how are you?
I'm doing well. I can get off the speaker here a little bit better. Ralph, thanks for coming on tonight.
You're welcome. It's
Another
fun.
Live is one of my favorite ones. I have it stuck first on my playlist in the car. I have to know, I heard you played the accordion on the wheel on that album. Is that right?
I'm sorry, you just cut out for a second. What did you say?
I heard you played the accordion on the wheel on that album.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Wow. Love that song.
That's a beautiful song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What can I say? Rundgren, Todd Rundgren, he really he knows how to write them.
Yeah.
I
caught the clip from the folks in Vegas I guess he did that again recently, and an excellent clip. Excellent clip.
Glad you liked it. Wow.
Yeah, I live with that album a lot of times ever since college days.
Oh, thank you.
Let you know some great stuff.
Yeah, it was a great time for me making all that music, and I don't know if any of my other bandmates has ever explained this, but on the Icon and Another Life, actually every section of those pieces was actually about 4 times longer. So each section was actually a separate song that was 3 or 4 minutes long, which we edited down, so that they could all fit on a record. And so some of that stuff was, it was just really great because we really got to stretch out and we recorded it all. I don't know if anyone has the tapes of the long versions, and they would probably bore most people except for musicians maybe.
Yeah.
But,
So that's
thank
true
you
even
for,
of Another Life, you're saying?
Sorry?
No, the first one.
You said that's true even there are longer versions of the stuff on Another Life?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Do you have any idea what kind of accordion you were using? I play the accordion, so
Oh, do you? Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
You probably play a whole lot better than I do. You really need pectoral muscles to do that.
Yeah.
And mine are, not that developed. But, I really don't remember. I think I might have it somewhere in my attic.
Okay.
Unless that was an old one that broke. I can't remember. But I love the accordion too. I mean, it's in the right hands, it's such a cool instrument.
I've got one of the ones that Roland put out, the digital accordion, the V accordion.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen those or not. So
yeah.
I actually took it to Todd Stock, and we had a good time with it there.
Squeeze box. Yeah, we had fun. We were expecting a lot of instruments there, and it ended up pretty much being the accordion and a couple guitars, and that was it.
Right.
What's Todd Stock?
Oh, here we go. All right.
Take it away,
well,
Doug.
Chuck, do you want me to explain?
Todd's big birthday party. Hey, what can I say?
Yeah, Todd had for his 60th birthday party, he invited fans out to his house to camp out for a week. And
Woodstock?
Todd Stock's what they and Michelle deemed it Todd Stock. It was
in Hawaii.
It was at his house. Yeah, so he's got a big plot of land, and people camped out, and it was pretty crazy. A whole week of partying and singing and you name it.
Wow, what a great thing for him to do.
Yeah, I think he really enjoyed it. I think it wore him out, but he was up every night, and trying to do an album and get ready for a tour and all that good stuff. He finished it the last night, which was his birthday night. They did a concert of the new album. Everybody, the first one. It was something else.
Yeah. So did all the fans have a good time?
Oh yeah, people still talking about it. And that was several months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, there's probably a couple hundred fans there, and there was some of his friends and some other people who played with him, like Bobby Strickland and Kenny Emerson was there, and it was something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He always one thing I always admired about him is that he always challenged himself. He always kind of made unrealistic expectations of things that he wanted to do within a certain period of time. And they were all difficult, but somehow he pulled it off. I think he gets bored when there's just like a regular normal day where, you might do music for 6 or 8 hours and then you'll go do something else. And he would kind of like commit himself to a lot of different things all at the same time. I don't know if he still does that, but it sounds like he does.
Yeah. I mean, the album he had in 2004 and the new one completely different, but mostly. But Squeezebox had brought up another line. The Seven Rays. I mean, that's such a keyboard-centric song. You were involved in writing that, weren't you? Maybe.
To be honest, I can't remember which one is that.
Seven Rays is.
I mean, I know how. All we need is the seven rays.
Yeah.
But I don't remember any. I don't remember. I mean, I could look on probably the album cover, and I don't know. Is my name on as one of the writers?
Somebody told me that you may have been involved in that. We love that song. We play it on here a lot.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
A lot of keyboard action. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I probably again it was probably one of these things that I brought into rehearsal that was a song unto itself. And then it became part of that song. I believe the genesis of that song came from John Siegler, but I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure the dun da dun 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 da da dun dun dun. I'm pretty sure John brought that in, and then Todd wrote lyrics to it, and then he edited in stuff that other people had written too. And that's what made the Seven Rays, but I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure that's the way it happened.
Love that song. All right, Squeezebox.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
You done?
Hey, thank you.
Anybody going to Asheville shows? Anybody signed on that's going to the Asheville show?
I don't know. Check the chat room. I know I'm not.
Yeah, I did.
I'd be in the middle of the week though, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, have a good time there.
Thanks again.
Will you? All right, thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.
All right.
You too.
The accordion man at Todd Stock, Squeezebox.
Excuse me.
All right. Yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
He didn't. Chuck didn't get to tell that he's such a true diehard accordion player that his accordion flew first class to Hawaii.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now
that was that story.
That's serious.
There you go.
Did he like pack himself into like a big box and he went in the baggage compartment or?
It was something like that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Utopia, and we'll go back to the where we're supposed to be, way back into the current. But I was going to ask you, I kind of wanted to ask you what mood you was on, but excuse me, got a little allergy there. There's been a lot of talk, and I've watched a video, and I kind of noticed this a little bit as well, that Frog Labat really wasn't doing a whole lot there on the stage. I didn't know what your takes were on him being on there, and if you were involved when he left Utopia.
I don't remember what happened when he left, but he was, let's see, let's put it this way. There were a lot of things that he did that no one ever heard,
Mm-hmm.
because he often had equipment problems, and so I'd say like the gigs we did with him, I'd say like maybe 75% of the gigs he was having trouble with his gear because he had this huge, modular synth setup, which in those, they didn't have, digital tuning, and they didn't have all these things to make them reliable like synthesizers have now.
Right.
And so it was just a behemoth of a nightmare of little wires. And some of the time he'd be soldering, and some of the time he'd be just underneath the console trying to figure out what was going on. And he was a very creative guy. And the one thing he did usually he got working was that he treated a lot of Todd's guitar solos went through his rig. And so he would be using his filters and, ADS, I don't know if you know what that is, but ADSR, attack, delay, sustain, release filters on Todd's guitar solos, which is what sometimes made him go like, like change the sound of them and everything.
Okay.
But a lot of times he was just trying to get his stuff working, But he also had like a really great look and a great costume, and a lot of enthusiasm. And I've heard his own music, which was really cool, I don't know if any of that came through with the band, really,
Right. I think, maybe then he was, maybe still in the learning stages or winging a little bit or whatever. But he ended up having that album that did pretty well. We've had him on the show, and he's still in music. I mean, he's doing some things, some unique things. He's got quite a story, but I was just kind of curious about in the Utopia time, back then, because it was it was just different stories, that the look helped him, and he was really good friends with Todd, and, that kind of thing. But you guys had, some really talented, keyboard going on then at the same time. And so
one of the reasons I quit the band was just there wasn't a whole lot of room, to play, to have three keyboard players who were all, sometimes we played parts, but then sometimes we improvised, and, it was pretty busy. And, at the time it seemed really great, and when I think about it now, and also a lot of people were doing that kind of thing in those days, like Miles Davis, had Bitches Brew, and, a bunch of other albums where there were three keyboard players, and P-Funk and all these different bands tried that. And to us it was really interesting because we liked things that were like every time you listen to it, you hear a new thing. But in retrospect, when I listen back now, it's very hard to kind of focus on, for me anyway, on some of those parts because there's just so many of them. And in my own writing, like for the cartoons and stuff, the first stuff, when I first started writing for the cartoons, it was like that too. And now when I listen to it, it sounds good and everything, but I think, God, I really was working way too hard. I could have done maybe a third of that, and it would have worked. It would have taken me, a whole lot less time, and and it would be a lot clearer to listen to. But that,
trying to be a perfectionist, maybe, huh?
I guess so. Or, I just like to have. I used to like to listen to a lot of things going on. To have to try and be sort of work to listen to something, whereas most music nowadays, most pop music and everything is very, very simple. And
yes, unfortunately, a lot of it is. Did John leave at the same time you did?
No, John did an additional album and tour, I believe.
Okay. So how many shows? Did you do a lot of shows?
I don't know exactly how many, but basically I did 3 tours. We did 3 tours, and the country, and I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 5 different albums where I played on some or all of the records.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was just, I didn't want to travel much anymore, and I was getting into some other stuff in the city, and I just, I wanted to have a calmer life, I guess.
Yeah, that's what Kevin Elman, I think, said the same thing. Yeah, I got you. All right, well, I'm going to keep delving in the past a little bit because I had somebody that sent me some email questions, a guy named G. Nordenstam, we call him Gary. This is dating way back, so you're going to have to really jog your memory here.
Okay.
He said that he believes you were a member of the Peanut Butter Conspiracy in the late 60s, and he wanted to know if you recorded with them or have any stories from that time period.
Jesus. Yeah, I was originally the first band that I was in. The first band I was in that actually recorded for a major label was called Clear Light. It was an LA kind of psychedelic rock band, and the guys in the Peanut Butter Conspiracy were all friends of ours. And when Clear Light broke up, they asked me to join their band, which I did for on and off, I guess, for a couple of years. And we did do one album. It's just been recently released. Coincidentally, I in the last 2 weeks I've spoken to the 2 main guys from the Peanut Butter Conspiracy. After all those years, we did an album called Music for Children of All Ages. And it had an album cover of like this toothless old lady with a great big grin on her face, and she's got headphones on, and she's just grooving on something. And the record's called Music for Children of All Ages.
Interesting. So what was the conspiracy that Peanut Butter was up to?
I wasn't in the band when they made up the name, but those kind of names were really stylish in those days.
I got you. Yeah, that's a funny name. Let's play a quick clip because we haven't played much music. Let's play this is something from the band you just mentioned, Clear Light. Night Sounds Loud. So here we go. This is just like 45 seconds or so. All right, here we go. How about that? Let's jog some memories.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds a little better on the internet, I promise you, than it did on the phone, but anyway.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
I said it sounds a little bit better when people listen on the internet than it does on the phone, but
oh, yeah.
The sound comes out a little bit better. But Clear Light, Night Sounds Loud. Did you say it was your first band?
It was the first band that was professional, not that it was professional, but that recorded for a major label. And actually, when I joined the band, they had already recorded most of their record, and I just overdubbed my parts. And I was replacing a guy, the second guitar player in the band, who they decided, I don't know, his tracks didn't sound good or something. And they were looking for another guitar player, and a girl that I had gone out with in high school recommended me to them as a keyboard player. And they liked me, and so I joined the band, and then we, that kind of evolved from there. And it was a pretty cool band, and a lot of the members went on to do successful, noteworthy things in the music business. We had 2 drummers, and one of the drummers was the first drummer in Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Dallas Taylor, and he played with them for several years. And the bass player, Doug Lubon, went on to form a band called Dreams in New York, with Billy Cobham and the Brecker brothers, and they all had this band together. And then Doug later on wrote some big hit songs. He wrote let me think. He wrote a song called "Treat Me Right" by Pat Benatar.
Yeah, I know that one.
And then he played in Billy Squier's band for several years, and he co-wrote a lot of Billy's songs too.
Stroke Me, yeah. All right, very nice. Mel, did you want to tell him something that from the chat room?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Groupie Gear, who is also, her real name is Carrie. She lives in Florida, and she's in the chat room. And she wanted me to tell you that her son, Alex, likes a song called Pikachu, I Choose You, and that he's got it on his iPod. Did you have something to do with writing that song?
I don't think so. I mean, is it a song that has lyrics, like singing and stuff?
It's from Pokemon.
It's from Pokemon. That's all I know.
Yeah, no. John Siegler might have co-written that one. I don't really know. But I only wrote actual songs. I only wrote a couple songs. Basically, I think I wrote one song in each movie, and that wasn't one of them. And mostly, I just did the scoring, the underscoring, which is some of it's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Well, I
do have one more question he wanted to ask you. I hope I get this name right. He wanted to know how your contribution with Richard Butler to the Kurt Weill.
Oh yeah, Kurt Weill. Yeah.
Kurt Weill. He has a W here. Tribute album.
It's pronounced Weill because he's German.
Okay, Weill tribute album. Lost in the Stars come about. How did y'all get paired up, and did y'all select the song? There's a guy named Hal Wilner who has been and I think still is the music supervisor for Saturday Night Live, and he's also a music supervisor for a lot of big movies now. And I think he and I met because sometimes I subbed as a keyboard player on Saturday Night Live, and we became friends, and he asked me to arrange a track of the Alabama song, which is the song I'm on that record. And Hal has an amazing record collection and an amazing ear, and his whole kind of thing in life is to bring obscure music that's really great to the public attention. And so every few years he gets a record company to give him a budget to record an album of a composer's music or a musician's music, or something that's worth hearing, but that the average person just has never even heard of. And usually the records they're always cult classics. They don't sell an enormous amount of money, basically because they're impossible to categorize in a record store. And so that particular album, so he had the song was called the Alabama Song, which was sort of made famous by the Doors, but was originally by this German composer named Kurt Weill, Weill, who also wrote a lot of very well-known songs and Broadway shows, and he eventually moved to the United States to escape Nazism, and wrote a lot of music for Hollywood movies in the 30s and 40s, and he was a very interesting guy. So Hal had an idea to do a tribute album to Kurt Weill, and he had me do an arrangement of that song for Richard Butler and Deborah Harry. And then Deborah Harry never showed up. So my wife, Ellen Shipley, who's also a successful songwriter and has made 3 solo albums and, has had a long career doing music, she happened, they needed somebody to sing this duet with Richard Butler. And I said, well, my wife can do it. And Hal had liked her singing and stuff. I mean, she wasn't as well known as Deborah Harry at the time. So, but he said, yeah, get her over here, because we were in this power station, huge studio, and we had all the musicians there and everything. And
you know, it was like very expensive, and you know, we wanted to be on schedule and everything. So I called her, and she hopped on the subway and came in and sang with Richard Butler. And that's kind of how it ended up happening. And let's see, that record has a lot of other famous people on it, but I can't remember who. I think Sting is on there, and some famous jazz musicians. And then Hal redid that record a few years later, and the redo has Sting and Elvis Costello and P.J. Harvey and David Johansen from the New York Dolls, and you know, he puts a lot combinations of people together, and so I was fortunate enough to have that song be kind of my thing. So I'm on both records, and the second one was made into a PBS movie about Kurt Weill and his life, and it has all these different performances by all the people that I just mentioned. And
that's good, yeah.
And that particular song in the movie, it's like a video. I guess it's like a rock video or something. Has my wife Ellen Shipley, David Johansen from the New York Dolls, and a jazz singer named Bob Dorough, and myself. We were sort of like the people who were named. And so there's a segment in the movie that that we're performing, and it's a real interesting movie. And the guy was a real heavy composer who did a lot of really cool, unusual things for those times.
That Richard Butler's got a interesting voice.
Totally. I hadn't really heard much of him, and when we did that, and he, I was really impressed with his whole style and his singing and his sound and everything, because I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I heard Pretty in Pink kind of, in the John Hughes movie, but I wasn't really studying it or anything.
Right.
And I really loved the way that came out, the way the vocals on that came out. And he'd never met my wife Ellen before, and it was funny because he was kind of a reclusive guy. So the power station was a very large studio where you could put a whole orchestra in it, and Richard Butler wanted to be sequestered in the corner with baffles or gobos. They're like sound protection. It's like a screen, having a screen all around him. And then my wife was standing in the middle of
Bubble Boy.
Yeah, and then Ellen was standing in the middle of this huge room, looking into the control booth, and they sang that song together, which was rare because by that time people didn't sing together anymore. All of a sudden people were phoning their parts in and overdubbing everything, and popular music got to a point for a while where it wasn't spontaneous anymore, that people would take a whole lot of time recording individual tracks and things.
Now, had your wife, had she heard Richard Butler before she showed up for this?
No. She was like in her 9th month of pregnancy. She was like half asleep, and I mean, it was I guess it was a lucky break for her because it led to the movie and other stuff, and it was super fun. But no, she wasn't very familiar with him, and she just kind of she happened to be available, and we couldn't think of anybody else to call, so Hal said, "Do you want to just call her? What the heck, Yeah.
And she was, the first time you hear that guy, you're kind of like, this guy's a singer, and then it grows on you. Then you really, I know I'd like him a lot, but it took a little while.
Well, he doesn't have a traditional good voice, in quotes, but one thing I will say about him is he's a very consistent performer, and his pitch, he's never out of tune, and he's got a whole style that, that, I mean, I still haven't heard a lot of his own music, to tell you the truth, but I love what he did on that song.
Well, Todd produced one of the Psychedelic Furs albums, and there was a song called "Love My Way" on there. I like this story because it's probably one of the more popular songs that they had, and it's a slow song. But apparently Richard was singing it, and he was very angry. It was an angry song, and Todd convinced him to go the opposite way, and it turned out to be a hit for him. It's a really pretty song.
Wow.
And so Richard Butler, funny stuff. I remember seeing them back in the day. So what? Did you ever figure out what happened to Debbie Harry? Why didn't she show up?
I don't know. She never did. She never got there.
Huh.
I saw her. She was the opening act for the new Cars when I saw them with Todd playing, and it was just amazing how many hit songs both of those bands had.
Right.
I mean, the Cars had like 14 hit singles, and Blondie had maybe 6 or 7, and that doesn't happen much anymore.
Yeah, I think that show may have been a lot bigger if Elliott wouldn't have got hurt, because those two bands touring together, and once after he got hurt, then Debbie and Blondie, they weren't touring with him anymore at Berlin.
Really?
Doing it. It just changed everything. But
yeah,
I didn't get to see her. I got to see the Berlin part, but it was a really good show anyway. So
it's funny about when people are in reform rock bands and stuff when they're middle-aged, if they've been playing and if they've been doing it individually and together, for all those years, in my experience anyway, they play a whole lot better than they did when they were kids. But because when they started out, they weren't really like musicians per se, like somebody who took music lessons or who could read music or who could do a session on, for as a studio musician or something.
Right.
They were people who were really inspired, who knew a few chords and a few licks and had a very unique style. And a lot of musicians, I use that in quotes, but a lot of studio musicians and stuff would make fun of them, and they'd say, these guys can't play. They can't even play more than 3 chords. And, but there was something in the way they played those 3 chords and their choice of notes and their choice of just everything about it was very musical in a lot of these bands, but they weren't like, a world-class player.
Right.
But as they got older, they all started to play pretty good.
Yeah, now a lot of them tour with different bands. Greg Hawkes has been in all kind of different shows. And definitely musically talented, no question.
Oh yeah, he's really great.
Yeah, so they
all those Cars guys, I always liked all of them.
I'm with you. Good stuff. Well, you got so many different musical things, so I'm just going to kind of pick and choose a few because there's some I wanted to talk to you about because. For selfish purposes, because I remember them and I like them. But one of them, you were credited with producing Sophie B. Hawkins.
Right.
Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover, which I bet everybody knows that song.
I hope so.
Yeah, that was a good one. So, did you do a whole album with her, or just that one song?
No, I did a whole album, and I actually co-produced it with a guy named Rick Chertoff, who produced. Let's see. He's produced a lot of successful records on. What's her name? Oh God, my memory sucks. Anyway, he was. I met Sophie, and I was looking for somebody to produce, and I met her, and we hit it off, and I really thought she was an amazing songwriter and had a really cool voice, and coincidentally, right around that, so I made a bunch of demos with her. And we got several record companies, just about every record company wanted to sign her.
Wow.
And right around the same time, this guy, Rick Chertoff, Cyndi Lauper, that's he's her and Joan Osborne and the Hooters, and I'm sure there's other ones, but he's had a lot of, big hits. And he's a wonderful, really great producer. He was the head of A&R at Columbia Records. And we hadn't shopped her stuff to Columbia yet, and just coincidentally, he called me one day and he said, "I just became head of A&R at Columbia Records, and I want you to work for me." because he and I had worked together a lot in the past. And I said, well, I just happen to have this artist who you guys might want to sign. And he said, oh, well, let's talk about it. And one thing led to another, and I ended up getting a job as an A&R director and a staff producer at Columbia Records for 4 years. And it turned out that Sophie, of all the record company presidents that we kind of interviewed with, and A&R heads of A&R that we interviewed with, she liked the people at that company the best.
Worked out well.
So it worked out, it worked out really well for everybody. And then we did the record with her, and that song was a huge hit. I thought the album should have been a lot more successful. I mean, it didn't do poor, but what happened was she made a video which was, I think, a little overly ambitious. It was a very strange video that had it was very expensive, and it had a lot of costume changes and strange, it was very creative and stuff, but the bottom line of it was it came out on MTV right around the time when the whole grunge thing was blowing wide open. And nobody liked it. None of the MTV audience liked this video because they thought it was too slick and too expensive looking. Because at that time, everyone was making these really raw kind of like home movie videos.
Right.
And the whole grunge thing was happening. Everyone was wearing plaid shirts and jeans and sneakers, and she was wearing all these strange costumes and things. And so the president of MTV, I forget his name, but he called Tommy Mottola and said, this thing is just not going to fly. And so they got Sophie and her band into, and they made a real cheapo, more realistic video in like one day of her jamming with her band, and they put that on MTV, and everybody liked it a lot better. But the way it happens with fans, the way it is with the public and with kids who are rock fans and stuff, people who had already seen the original video thought, well, what is this bullshit now? Now she's a grunge artist? And a lot of, I met a lot of kids, and, when I was working at Columbia, I met a lot of, I signed bands and stuff, and I met a lot of people who just did not believe her.
Right.
And that really hurt her career because she's a funky person, she's a very unpretentious, kind of regular person, she wears T-shirts and jeans, and she's like an everyday person, and she's totally unpretentious, but she had made this very, very pretentious video with some very high-priced director, and just people, most of the MTV audience just got pissed, They thought, well,
it's not always about spending the most money. It's not about spending the best value.
I mean, the first video she made was kind of like a Madonna video, but when Madonna was already on her 7th album, like a Prayer or something.
They laid $1 short. I got you.
Yeah, and so it was like it would have been appropriate if it would have been her 7th hit album or something, But she was, just a young girl, and people just really took it the wrong way. So it kind of screwed up a lot of things having to do with her image.
Well, she still had a hit, and got to be.
Yeah. Well, it was #1 in every country in the world.
Yeah, it was a good song. We were talking a minute ago about quote unquote musicians, and you also did some work with Belinda Carlisle, and I'm not positive, but I don't think she plays an instrument, does she?
No.
Does she have any musical talent other than singing or tambourine?
No. No, Belinda has a very unique voice, and she sings with great sincerity and a lot of feeling, and she's very smart when it comes to pop music. She really knows what feels feels right for her and what she can connect with and what she can't. And she's another person that's not really like traditionally what you would call a singer's singer, you know, like, I don't know, like Christina Aguilera or Celine Dion or somebody like that who you know, technically they're just such brilliant singers. And she's a more instinctive person with a kind of an untrained voice. But she definitely has her thing, and I think because she's untrained, she really stands out. I think one thing I learned when I was working for the record company and was a talent scout and listening to all these people is there are a lot of people who have good voices who sing very well. But they're not necessarily the voices that people want to buy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
People want to listen to somebody, or at least kids do, want to listen to somebody who sort of sounds like them.
Huh.
You know, and if somebody's not really such a great singer, but they're very, very sincere, and the sound of their voice is really unique, and you know that when they sing, they really mean it. Most rock audiences would prefer that, I think, to somebody who was, let's say, like Celine Dion or Christina Aguilera or something like that, or Mariah Carey, who are, I mean, obviously those they're all enormously successful, but at the time when I was producing records and at the time all this was happening, I think most people preferred to hear somebody that sounded more like just another kid, just like them, you know, but who had a lot of feeling and soul and a unique sound. Because there's a lot of people, I mean, you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, but there's a lot of people who have great voices, and they're very musical, and they can sing, you know, they have huge ranges and big voices and smooth, they're really smooth, and technically brilliant, and they're never out of tune and all this stuff like that, but there's very few of those that sound unique. You know, and I think Belinda was one of the people who definitely has a unique sound.
Sure, I like her sound, no doubt. I was pretty sure, though, she didn't play any kind of instrument. I wanted to talk about one more person, and then we're going to take a call if that's all right. But this is somebody we're going to have on the show in a couple of weeks, Ellen Foley. And apparently you wrote a song with her and Mark Holden, that These Loving Eyes.
Oh, no, I wrote that with Ellen Shipley.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah, people used to get them confused because their first albums came out around the same time. They're both from New York, and they both had similar voices. And Ellen Foley sang with on Meatloaf's record.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but no, I co-wrote that song with Ellen Shipley, who's my wife.
Excellent. All right, I'll make sure not to ask Ellen Foley about that then. Of course, that song was covered by David Hasselhoff. Did anybody else do the song? Who was the original person that song was written for? I guess it would have been him, I don't guess.
You know, I think we wrote that for him. I think, Mark Holden was his producer. And I don't know, we were friends with Mark, and I don't know, he was over at the house or something, and he said, I'm looking for songs for David Hasselhoff because he's got a huge following in Germany. And I didn't even know the guy could sing, and we just happened to have that. I think I had that title, or I had like the first few lines of the lyrics or something, and so I played him or I showed him to Mark, and he liked it. So the three of us kind of put the song together.
So David can sing, huh?
Well,
no comment.
I'm not a fan. Let's put it that way.
All right, very fair.
You know, it was a gig. You know.
Yeah.
And I think I did the string arrangement on that song too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. I like that you say he's popular in Germany, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if he still is, but at the time he was really popular.
Reminds me of those commercials where they used to sell the albums, and they'd say #1 in Germany or wherever, you know, all these foreign countries. You know,
oh yeah.
All these guys were popular. You know, some you never heard of them. You're like, what? and that was another country. All right, so we got a call here. This is Brian Grace. I know he wanted to ask you some advice.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Ralph Schuckett.
Speak to me.
Well, we have 6 degrees of Todd separation, my friend. You and I have a common thread.
Oh, degrees of separation?
Of Todd separation.
Oh, Todd separation, okay.
Yes. We both played with Todd.
Okay.
There you go.
I get the opportunity to play with Todd as a fan, actually, at the recent Las Vegas gig at the Celebrity Club.
Uh-huh.
And he invited me on stage, sight unseen, sound unheard, which was very cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
I didn't really know. I didn't have the Arena album yet, but I had listened to the song "Piston" in various forms. And
so you just volunteered, or how did that come about?
Well, it wasn't easy. It was a very political process, of course.
A little coercion.
Much like the debate tonight on TV.
You did a good job, though, man. It's all good.
Man, thank
you.
I appreciate it, man. I do very well by ear. I was tested for perfect pitch, actually, at Berklee College of Music. And
what do you play?
I play saxophone primarily, but I play like 12 or 13 other instruments. And Todd was very cool. I got the opportunity to blow some sax on a song that he called "Piston" that he wrote on his recent album. I don't know if you've had the pleasure of listening to.
No, I haven't, but I'm sure I'll get it. I mean, I'm going to I'm going to go online and get it.
It's an arena rock. Yeah.
A lot of people have told me good things about it.
So Brian, what kind of advice did you want?
Well, listen, man. I don't want to be weird or anything, because I live in L.A. But I'm looking to break into TV and music, and what is your suggestion to somebody that at this point in the game would benefit? How would a guy like me? I've had some radio airplay. I've been on TV a couple times, but I haven't really broken into the business per se. What would be your suggestion, Ralph, as far as trying to break into the TV and music business? Do you think an agent would be a prime?
You mean by TV, do you mean as a musician or a songwriter or a singer or an actor?
Mostly as like a composer and
I see.
in the composing aspect
or
arena.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Well, it's.
What's the best way to go about that, do you think, to break in?
Be friends with John.
Sound good?
No, it's there's no particular way other than
I know.
A lot of it has to do with luck. I mean, you have to really know what you're doing, and you have to be a good composer, and you have to be fast, and you have to be either versatile, or you have to have a very, very unique style that nobody else does. And that's just the bottom line. The whole thing about breaking into the business, it just has to do with who you know. It has to do with networking. It has to do with, I mean, to be honest, I don't know how to do it. I mean, I've been making a living for a long time doing it, but it's, people get in like a whole lot of different ways. For example, there's a lot of great composers who happen to go to college with the director, or they happen to be roommates, or or they grew up with him. There are people who, and this is not to take away from their talent, by the way, because this is probably the most musically talented group of people, I would say, in the world. Are a lot of most of the popular film composers today are just
absolutely.
They're great,
I would agree with that.
But that's not necessarily what got them the gig. Some people, like for example, I read an article about what is his name? Oh man, there's a very successful film composer who did a score for a totally independent, small theater release movie about animals, about wolves, I think, in the Arctic or something. And somebody, the director of a big feature film, with a big budget and stars, well-known stars and stuff, just happened to hear that record at hear the soundtrack of that at somebody's at a friend's house, and he said, "God, who is that?" He said, "I want that guy to do my movie," and it was totally, the first opportunity is often just luck.
Sheer luck.
And,
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, sheer luck, I said. I was agreeing with you.
Well, the other thing you could do is it's either luck or enormous persistence and self-confidence. The other thing you could do is you could find out, the phone numbers and addresses of all the composers' agents in L.A. There's not that many of them. There's probably about 10 of them. And you could just bug them until they either want to kill you or they'll say, okay, I'll meet with you.
They'll finally succumb.
But then you have to be, your music has to be, like I said, it has to be really, really special and unique. By the way, I'm not talking about myself necessarily here. It has to be, and you have to be the type of person that somebody would have fun hanging around with for 3 or 4 months under pressure.
Okay.
And a lot of it has to do with the way whether you hit it off with the director or not.
I like pressure and I like fun, so those are two combinations.
Yeah, there you go. It has to do with do you and the director have the same cultural references, or did you both love David Bowie's third album, or did you both love some
Hunky Dory? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just being
I'm sorry.
General,
examples.
These are just examples, or maybe you both loved some obscure anime show or some obscure sitcom that only ran for 10 episodes and it got canceled or something. It's really based on how you hit it off with the director. When you do film, the director is the one who has total control over who the composer is, and when you do television, it's usually the producer who hires the composer, and you just have to figure out a way of meeting these guys and getting them to like you. And it has nothing to, that part of it has nothing to do with music.
Right.
And that's why there's a lot of, I know composers, I'm friends with composers that were just so unbelievably persistent and self-confident and driven and ambitious, where they had nothing on their mind, nothing whatsoever except making it as a Hollywood composer. And it might have taken them between 5 and 10 years of cranking away at it, sending out CDs, going, meeting secretaries, meeting receptionists, meeting, moving to a neighborhood where their kids went to school with somebody's kids who knew some director, and they just kept at it, until finally they got a shot, which is like you only get one shot, and they got a shot, and they met a director, and somehow they had to convince him that out of all the 5,000 film composers or TV composers in L.A., that he would be better to work with than all the rest of them.
There you go.
It's like playing the lottery almost.
Sorry?
You need to watch the movie Wall Street, Brian, and be like Bud Fox.
There we go.
Bud Fox.
Bud Fox in Wall Street. Go get Gordon Gekko. You'll see the persistence.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Greed is good?
Greed is good.
Yeah.
All right, hey, man, thanks
boy.
for calling, Brian. Hope that helps you. Hope you get a career.
The other thing I would say is you have to be more than willing to work for free for a long period of time. To do like demos, to do like spec sessions, to do, if you get a foot in the door and you're totally unknown, a guy's going to say, okay, well, I want you to score this part of film, but I'm not going to pay you for it. And it's going to take you about 2 weeks.
Seems like that's the way a lot of, getting in the music business now, playing gigs and different things, and you just got to play for nothing or free just to get out there.
That's kind of how I got my start, was by playing for free for hundreds of people.
Awesome. Yep. That's still the way it goes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
hey, Doug, do you play an instrument?
I do not.
Oh.
I don't have a clue.
Uh-huh.
I play air guitar. That's it. But believe it or not, we only got 5 minutes left.
Wow.
This time it flies, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions.
All right, let's hear it.
I'll make it real quick.
Okay.
I wanted to know, this is a couple of girly questions. Have you ever done any work for any soap operas?
Yes, I have. In the 80s, I've done work for a couple of soap operas. In the 80s, I did the music with a songwriting partner, John Leffler. We did the music for Another World, and we also wrote the theme song we wrote the theme song for Another World for about a lot of the incidental music for about 12 years, and then they got somebody else after a while.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we got let's see, Crystal Gale and Gary Morris, who are country singers. They're the ones who sang our song. And they had I believe, a #1 country record with it. And it was on the top 20 pop charts, too. Shitty song. I mean, we wrote the song in about 15 minutes, but I don't know. Somebody liked it, I guess.
Well, if you got another one, you better spit it out. We got 3 minutes.
Okay, I've got a real important question.
Here we go.
Yes.
Okay, back in the day when you were touring around with bands, how did you do your laundry?
I think every hotel has a couple of washing machines or something in the basement.
So you were the serve kind of guy.
Sorry?
So you were the self-serve kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, we usually didn't stay somewhere long enough to give it to the dry cleaner or something, but if we were like in town for more than a day or two, then we just send it out. Nowadays, I think they have a lot more kind of 24-hour businesses these days, but back then, if you were in, I don't know, some town that's not that big, and it's 10 o'clock at night and you need to have your laundry done, you can't find anybody else to do it.
There you go. All right. Well, we got a couple minutes. I want to run down something real quick, and I apologize that we just didn't get to talk about everything we wanted to with the debate, but I want to talk about some of the current things you're doing. We got all over the place. We got back in time and in the middle and everywhere else, but I'm going to make a rundown right quick, and if I'm wrong on any of these, let me know, but I want everybody to know what kind of things you're involved with Todd in, and if you got any story from one of these things you'd like to share in the last couple of minutes, that would be cool. If not, no biggie, but you played bass on A Wizard, True Star.
I did.
You played bass and keyboards on Todd Rundgren's Utopia.
I don't think I played bass.
No? Just
I might have played bass keyboards.
Yes, bass and keyboards. Organ, bass, and clarinet. Is that right?
I guess.
In 1974 on the Todd album.
Mm-hmm.
You played organ, bass, accordion, keyboards, vocals, and clarinet on Another Live.
Okay.
Bass and clarinet on Initiation.
You sure about the bass thing?
That's what it says. It's on your credits here. You played bass on Back to the Bars as well. Is that true?
No, John Siegler played on all those things.
All right. Well,
where'd you get your information?
I pulled this off the internet. It's got you on Moogie's. It's got you with Carole King, all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is you. Did you compose Redo? Utopia '92.
Redo.
The live in Japan Utopia.
No.
Well, they got you confused then. I got to get the internet straightened out.
Yeah, maybe they're mixing up John and me.
Yeah, that would be all right. You did most of those though, right?
Yeah, I did all of them, but I didn't play bass on them.
Okay.
And I didn't do Japan.
Did you do Back to the Bars?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do for that?
I think I played keyboards, and I think I played accordion a little bit.
Awesome. Any good stories from one of those albums that you remember? Maybe you hanging out with Moogie and them for the Wizard?
Good stories? You mean like funny or?
Whatever you want.
Good stories. At the moment, I can't think of any.
That's all right.
You know, like a lot of really funny, entertaining things happen through all that I tell people at parties and stuff. You know, but I can't remember any of it at the moment. But if you ask me some questions, then I'll come on next time and tell you some stories.
Absolutely. We'll line up some stories. We'll talk about. You got so many things we could go on and on and on and on. That's the problem with even though it seems like a long time, 2 hours, it's really not. So well, we appreciate you being on.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And we really had a good time. And we'd like to get John on sometimes, too. I'll have to hit you up for that.
Okay.
I think I've had just about everybody in Utopia but him. Now You've had Kevin and Moogie and Frog and you name it, we've had them on.
You have Willie?
We've had Willie on, Roger Powell, Tasm, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think if we're missing anybody. Let's see. I think John is it. Let's see. Yeah. John Siegler's probably the only one. We had the Sales Brothers on. They were there a little while.
Well, I'll try and hook you up.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Very good. All right, man. Well, I hope
you
catch a little bit of the debate or got it on TiVo or something.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ralph. It was fun.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's fun for me, too.
All right. Good deal. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
All right, everybody. All right. That's Ralph Schuckett. You're listening to Rundgren Radio.
Something happened just the other night. I had a vision in the middle of a daydream. In a place I'd never been before. I couldn't tell if I was still awake or sleeping. I saw so many things I barely recognized. I thought that I was lost, but then I saw you. And I knew I saw you very before. But I swear that I knew you in another life. And I knew I saw you, but you know I wouldn't be dreaming. But I swear that I knew you in another life. Certain things affect me certain ways, and this isn't just the first time that it's crossed my mind. Something happens and the crystal clears, and you begin to recognize all of the little signs. I wish that I could place every little gesture, but it really doesn't matter, 'cause we'll never know. Thank you.